Ethiopian consulting firm who works. So just to say a few words about the forum that we are about to start. As you all know, I think I will be preaching to the choir here that you all know Ethiopia is growing very fast. It's been growing very fast for more than a decade. But we also know that growth is not enough, not only for Ethiopia, but for the rest of the continent. We all know that growth is not enough. What is at stake here is the future of the continent and the future of the country. And for that matter, to sustain the incredible growth of the last decade over the continent, or specifically here in Ethiopia, we need to transform our economy. We need to move millions of our people from low value added sectors like primary, smallholder agriculture into value adding agro industry and light manufacturing industries. I think so far I am again preaching to the choir. So Ethiopia has started this process of moving from an agriculture-led into an industry-led economy, and is doing very well now. It's beginning to take off, as you all know. And the reason is because Ethiopia had a clear strategy. Ethiopia followed this strategy when it was not popular, when it was not the fashion. Ethiopia followed this strategy when the Chinese economy was attaining efficiencies in light manufacturing previously unseen in the world. And Ethiopia intends to continue in this direction until the economy is transformed into an industry-led economy. So we all know that. The good news is, over the last couple of years, these industries are starting to have their own difficulties in Asia and up and other associated problems, and therefore foreign investment is coming into a country like Ethiopia and the rest of the continent. And Ethiopia, as you all know, if we look at the topics we're looking at for today, which is agribusiness, textile and garments, and leather, these are the sectors that Ethiopia does have comparative advantage. These are the areas where, just on paper, we are likely to be a very good location for the migration of these industries from Asia. But that's not enough, and that is where the strategy has come in, and Ethiopia has invested very actively. We are now at a stage where, given all the physical and human infrastructure investment that has taken place over the last 10, 15 years, this is a time where it's starting to make sense for private investment. For private investment domestically, private investment of the FDI type, linking into global supply chains. So why are we here today? This forum, we're going to explore how Ethiopia plans into becoming a major low-cost location for agro-business and light manufacturing industries. So the session is going to address the overall business environment and key policy features that make Ethiopia an attractive destination for companies interested in the agro-industry and allied sectors. So when we mean agro-industry, it is wide, as you all know, not just the processors, not just the producers, but also all the suppliers of those industries. We'll also explore what recent improvements have been made in the business environment. So why are we here? Is there anything new? And why all of a sudden do we believe that Ethiopia has become a growth story? Why Ethiopia has become a very attractive place for agribusiness investments in particular? Having said that, I have a very distinguished panel here for you. Ato Fitsum Araga, the Commissioner of the Ethiopia Investment Commission, will have a presentation in a few minutes and will share with you the present situation on the ground in investing in Ethiopia and the policies, regulations, incentives, and what's not. And then we also have Ms. Cristina Miranda Gonzalez from the EU, Ms. Amelia Negatu from Ernst & Young Ethiopia, Ato Ndalkacho Sime from the Ethiopia Chamber of Commerce, and Ato Daniel Gad, Owner and General Manager of Omega Farms, from a very specific private sector agricultural point of view. So we will have a conversation in a few minutes after the presentation of His Excellency Ato Fitsum. So I would like now to invite Ato Fitsum to the podium.
Thank you, Enoch. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, panelists. I'm honored to be here to present the investment opportunities and policies in Ethiopia. And since you have grasped some information in the morning, I would like to start starting from the Growth and Transformation Plan objectives. In Ethiopia, we have the second Growth and Transformation Plan since September last year. And this is the second Growth and Transformation Plan. When we say Growth and Transformation Plan, we have a 5-year plan, and this is the second Growth and Transformation Plan. This plan, in 10 years, our target is to achieve middle income status and to become manufacturing hub of Africa. To achieve that, we have to maintain the growth rate that we have been achieving in the last 11 growth. Especially at this time of the global downturn, challenges in the US, North America or Europe, Middle East, and some downturn even since 2008. Such impressive growth is miraculous, I may say. So we have achieved this in the last 13 years, which includes the first Growth and Transformation Plan period. And we want to continue. We targeted to achieve the same in this second Growth and Transformation Plan. What that means for manufacturing, we have to achieve 25% growth per annum. The last 5 years, we have achieved 20%. We admit that manufacturing in this country is in a very lower stage. So, given the base and the strategy we are following, and the environmental climate we are having, we believe this is achievable. We have achieved with little support, and in the first 5 years. So. We believe this could be possible as well. The strategies, if you like, the pillars, is to support the manufacturing sector by different policy initiatives, and also transformation of agriculture is very important, which means to enable manufacturing to produce excess for industries. And also, this industries has to have competitive market access to international or export market, and that should be also supported. So we are not only talking about growth, we are very much concerned about development as well, shared growth, Gini coefficient or poverty reduction, life expectancy improvement, social infrastructure, schools, health sectors as well. So in the last 5 years or before that, we have worked and achieved remarkable progress. So we want to maintain that in the coming 5 years as well. In the coming 10 years, when we speak about the achieving achieving our vision. From GTP2, the goals in the manufacturing sector, we expect 1 million jobs in 5 years, and twofold growth in terms of GDP, and fourfold in 10 years. Again, in terms of export, we want to achieve as well. Export is very strategic for us, because without export, we cannot achieve the growth we want to achieve. And unless our companies, be it local or foreign, penetrate international market, they don't know whether they're competitive enough to stay in the market in the first place. So companies who could not penetrate into international market could not survive whenever imports are flooding to the country. So they will cease to exist very easily. In the strategies targeting on manufacturing sector, we target both FDI and domestic. When we say target, we don't do just general promotion and invite everybody to be, to invest. We actively identify companies, committed companies, who should be getting the incentives that government is providing, and we need to make sure that the incentives are provided for the intended purposes. There are companies who abuse incentives, or doesn't matter whether they get incentives or not, but there are companies with proper incentive and supportive mechanism who could substantially contribute to the growth of this country and transform their own companies and assist in the growth of the sector as well. The other strategy we are following is developing of industrial parks. When we say industrial parks, first what we did was in 2015, I think it's in April, the Council of the Parliament and the Council of Ministers endorsed a special law, a proclamation that has to recognize industrial parks in this country. And what we mean by industrial parks. Before 2015, there were different names given to these industrial parks. Industrial zones, industrial villages. You know what industrial parks means. It means a designated area identified as support as well as and will be dedicated for a particular business activity. We specialize on sectors. It's not about inviting every area outcome will be. For example, textile sector in one area. Those that are synergy with this sector might be accessories, buttons, zippers, or others related sectors could be part of this value chain, so will be allowed to enter into such kind of we want to be supportive and interact each other and achieve a better result. And please backward. And infrastructure. So, as government 10 key industries in light laser agro industry, electronics, steel equipment, chemical and pharmaceuticals, ICT and biotechnology. So you can see on the next, please, this one. These are the priority sectors that will be supporting, and agro industry or agro processing is one of the important sectors that we all talk about. So we have identified projects, and we are committed to build them. Already we have completed one in a called away from that far already in 2016. This is industrial park only for textile and garment sector, and in a chemical construction and Kombolcha construction also has begun there. Is in the part Kombolcha as well. Contract has been selected. We expect them to be completed by end of this year. Awasa took 9 months, and that's the timeline we are talking about. And we are at the moment trying to attract both local and foreign investors who are interested to get into in these parks. In the case of Hawassa, we didn't finish the building or the construction and look for attracting investors. I said earlier that we are targeting. So we are targeting from the design stage. We are targeting from the beginning, so that every company interested will understand what kind of parks, what kind of shade, factory shades. Or if, by the way, we have different options. We don't build and rent or sell factory sheds. We also avail land inside industrial park in a very competitive price. I mean, close to zero, I may say, so that companies will build based on their design and produce their whatever they are allowed to, or they are approved to produce in those places. So, the wonderful opportunity to inform those who never heard about this, initiative, and the next session as well. You will learn more about the specific integrated agro parks, so that together you can understand and identify your interest areas and work together even during the construction period, so that we know which park is suitable for you, which specific development or sheds will be useful for you. So, for your information, Hawassa Industrial Park has been totally sold out. 37 factories has been built, and we don't have any now. So, Hawassa Industrial Park Phase 2. But at the same time, we are doing Bolelemi 2, Kilinto, which is the outskirts of Addis. Kilinto is pharmaceutical. I said earlier, there are specialized parks. The feasibility study has been completed. By the way, before we build or invite interested in the industrial park developers, proper study, feasibility study, both economic, social studies, hydro study, master plan study. So positive signals, we don't get into action. So share this information for those who are interested. So the Brabrahan is dedicated. Already we haven't started building, but so far we have identified around 4 important international investors in this area. It's 120 or so kilometers away from Addis in the northern part of the country. And Bahar Dar, feasibility and other studies are going on. Aisha, very close to Djibouti, and Hunan is in Adama. So these 6 are identified 6 private industrial parks. East Industrial Park has been completed. So far, 40 private factories have started. Most of them became and expansion project is going on. It's just in a place called Dongam, 30+ kilometers away from Addis. Jorshu Industry Park is a private park, Taiwan Chinese based, in a place called Mojo. Again, this is some 70 kilometers away from Addis to Eastern Park, to the eastern part of the country. Wajan is another Chinese footwear dedicated company, building industrial parks in the outskirts of Addis. RRT, other area, 30 kilometers away from Mojo, from very close to the railway link. By the way, all industrial, before we build them, we do, I said earlier that there are feasibility studies going on. So when we say that, we would close infrastructure, mainly railways, access to port, and things like that. 1,000 hectares industrial park is going to be constructed very soon. And in Adama again, a South Korean called Yangwon is going to build private industrial parks. Those who are interested to build industrial parks by yourself, as long as you are qualified, there is a very attractive policy the land will be provided as zero. So we'll encourage you with other policy supports as well. These are some of the areas when park from here to the port, and I have mentioned this information just to let you know why Ethiopia. I think by now you have some information about this. Untapped natural resources. We have abundant land and 74 million hectares of arable land. And water potential. We have even finding recently an abundant water, underground water as well, resources on top of the so many rivers, including Nile. The source of Nile is Ethiopia, as you may know. 85% of the Nile River is from Ethiopia. We have livestock, livestock resources. Of total livestock population, Ethiopia is leading from Africa and maintains in. When it comes to making use of this resource into processing, we might be one of the lowest. So this by itself is an opportunity to tap into. Yesterday, I signed an investment agreement with a giant Chinese investor in front of our Prime Minister and the Chinese Deputy Prime Minister here in Addis, worth of more than $500 million to manufacture a textile from wool. So those who are interested in developing sheep rearing, who have wool potential, this company is going to build its own factory, I better say factories, in a land of 80 hectares. So that will give a lot of job opportunities for the people and so many backward linkage and even forward linkage, because they will be into garment as well. And so many accessories manufacturers will be also encouraged. This is the first of its kind in the country, maybe in Africa, because so far we have been attracting manufacturing from cotton, textile manufacturing from cotton. But this one is from wool. So this has a big connection with agro industry. This company now is importing wool, raw material from Australia, New Zealand. So we are encouraging this company to consider even developing this here in Ethiopia. So another company also decided to invest in Ethiopia in a 30 hectare of land recently, is going to produce textile from a material called linen. It's like a flex fiber, which has never been here in Ethiopia. It produces garment, different kinds of clothes that are suitable for hot weather. So this another company is also one of the best in the world. So these new opportunities will create a backward linkage for agro industry as well. These are just figures that Ethiopia is one of the best in different sectors. Coffee is a wonderful resource here in Ethiopia. Fortunately or unfortunately, coffee is highly consumed in Ethiopia. I say fortunately because it's a market by itself. Unfortunately, because we are not exporting enough. But maybe after some time, people from here might be processing coffee so that raw coffee that we are exporting will add value and pay back the farmers, the traders that are involved in the middle. A kilo of coffee we export is, say, they say as equal as a cup of or 2 cups of coffee somewhere in New York. So you can see the potential. So Ethiopia is leading coffee producer and exporter in Africa and one of the top 5 in the world. So just this will create a lot of opportunity just by roasting, for example. But there is some game in the middle that we should understand and play fairly. We can also, mention others. Flour. Ethiopia is one of the leading 2 flour exporting country in Africa. We just caught up Kenya in just less than or close to a decade. And with the opportunity we have, we can even surpass. So we have a wonderful lease policy which makes companies to focus on mainly in the business itself, instead of spending a lot of money on the land. Instead of buying land in a huge amount of money, they can use that resource to do the business. This is unlike from other African countries. I can openly say this. So infrastructure, another reason. I said untapped resources. Second one is infrastructure. The reason why you consider Ethiopia. Electric power. Again, we are investing heavily as a country along Nile River, one of the biggest dams in Africa. Greater Renaissance Dam is under construction. Is more than okay. So electric power is another opportunity that the government is heavily investing in a renewable, responsible power. So that's another advantage. We play fairly. We won't pollute the environment. The power we generate 100% is hydro plus wind. So we have a huge geothermal potential. And there are investors that are already engaged on that. So we have started exporting power to Djibouti, to Sudan, and a big project is going on to export power to Kenya. And we believe we can connect the region with the potential we have and the opportunity and the commitment that we have. And this is a wonderful news for power-intensive industries who are considering investing in Ethiopia. We have challenge. Challenge is just temporary in power management, and we know the solution is there. So we have started working on the solution. Road construction, communication services, and the like are also going on. And today, this is a light railway back, please. This is a light rail system that has been operational in the last 1 year in Ethiopia, the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. And today is a day that the Addis Djibouti Railway project has been inaugurated this morning. So that will give a huge relief for logistics challenges that companies who are exporting or importing raw materials have been facing. And that helps us doing business better. The next, maybe Ethiopian Airlines is also playing its role, number one African airline in terms of cargo and passenger, in terms of international connections, in terms of frequency of flight in different countries. It flies up to 30 plus flights weekly to China, just to give example, or 42 times to Tanzania or Nigeria. So it has another hub in Western Africa, which connects to Latin America, Brazil, and the other area. And in the Southern Africa, it has another hub in Malawi. So it's connecting the whole of Africa and connecting Africa with the world, not only in passenger, but also in cargo. The secret of Ethiopian Airlines growth is is a witness of Ethiopian economy growth. So Ethiopian Airlines is growing with the economy. The other thing is market access in the region. Locally, Ethiopia is the second populous country in Africa, and in terms of labor force, education has been going on very well in the last 2 decades. Primary school enrollment has been close to 100 now, and secondary, tertiary levels has been also improved. We have commitments, and the economy is growing with a income of also growing. The middle income population is also increasing, and this by itself is a market for consumer products. Most agro-processing products are consumer products. So this is another opportunity. And 3.5 billion people live with 8 hours of flight from Addis Ababa. This is another access. And there is also a free trade advantage, Agro, and extended for more. Eating Better Arms initiative is also there. Can export products to Europe, tax-free, duty-free, the same as Agro. So privilege this access. We have other bilateral arrangements to export to China, same arrangement, to Japan, to Canada, to India with preferential treatment, not as the other. Investors who are coming to these specific places from US, from Europe, from China, from Japan, or from other countries which we have a bilateral arrangement and a development arrangement. You are qualified to, and I believe you are the one who can rightly suited to invest here, and because you understand the phytosanitary or other standards these countries require, because they are maybe your country or a country that you have been operating, so you can easily access this market. We want to export meat, are growing and growing not only in numbers but also in income. At least because we need people who understand the Chinese market as to how to take it there. In the Chinese sectors, we have a big Indian investor investing in meat processing, but they will be limited to, again, a Middle East area. Still, that's a very attractive area. So we encourage you to look into this market access that are there before it's too late. Other investment incentives, incentive, just policy. Investment of dividend principal interest payments on external loans allow to guarantee convertible currency, the right to employ expired there, to manage exporting businesses have by working in Ethiopia. So we encourage you to employ Ethiopians, because we build whenever you prefer due to technical reasons to bring your own staff, you are allowed to do it. So Ethiopians, because as a business is, I remember a company and asked to renew permit of his 6 months a year. I just because for a guard, me for a so his the second one, and you whenever bring them, because this not in some consumptions, capital goods, machinery, special industrial parks for and depending on your income years for textile and garment export sector is up to income tax payable up to 10 years. Huge incentive. This park they extend this up to 50. So I've never an income tax years in any other country. So this is a huge welcome from the government of Ethiopia. Ethiopian Investment Commission, which I'm leading, is a government institution which provides a one-stop shop for investors and is accountable to the Prime Minister. There is a board chaired by the Prime Minister himself so that this board resolves issues, challenges that investors may face at different stage of their investment. So, Investment Commission promotes at a federal level. We basically work closely with foreign investors and Ethiopians and domestic and foreign investors joint ventures. And in every region there are investment offices, investment commissions that provide similar services to investors. So these are also a very interesting arrangement that we have it and we want to improve it. And we want to introduce similar one-stop shop services in every industrial park branch whenever we introduce one. Just to show a picture of Hawassa Industrial Park, each factory shed is 11,000 square meters. I said there are 37 factory sheds, and it has well-built zero liquid discharge, recycling, effluent treatment, and a residential quarter close to 1,000 dormitories, and there are a special arrangement with the community living there to build up to, which caters up to 15,000 employees. So we are not only building just a park, we are also building the town so that this will bring a new chapter. This is where it was inaugurated. Okay, please, I'm just showing some pictures. This is the one-stop shop which I've already mentioned. The outcome of this, the outcome of the Hawassa Industrial Park is we are able to attract anchor investors like PVH, which is the American investor. Normally, for the last 20 years, they said they have never invested. They were just, acting like a trading company. But they decided this time to invest in Ethiopia, in Hawassa Industrial Park. So, you know them. They are the brand owner of Calvin Klein, Agro, and the like. They have very famous brands all over the world. And Arvind is from India. Tal is from Hong Kong. Epic is from Hong Kong. Wuxi Jinmao Jem is from China. And Hydramani from Sri Lanka. And there are 16 companies from India, China, US, France, Belgium, Indonesia, and of course, we have also a reserved space for locals, domestic investors, which we have a special support when it comes to availing funding from our development bank. So our expectation from just one park is to, when it matures, to export $1 billion just from one park. The biggest exporter from Africa at the moment, the biggest export scored in Africa is from Mauritius as a country, and they reached 1 billion. So this shows us we can excel whenever, when we do the other parks as well. Up to 60,000 local employment in 2 shifts are also expected just from one park. So far, we have achieved as a country from this sector is just less than this. So we see how industrial parks play a great role. South Koreans showed this. Singapore also did. Turkey also did. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and recently China. The workshop of the world showed how industrial parks play a strategic role in attracting this sector. So we are not saying that we don't have challenges. Earlier I mentioned about power interruptions, which we are working to resolve it. We learned that countries like China, when they were at our stage of development, or Korea or others, they were struggling and they fixed it. So we believe this is a development challenge. And this is an opportunity for companies who are working in power sector, for example. Weak manufacturing sector, weak export. So we want to change that. Transformation of agriculture. This is very important because it's important for value creation, value chain to supply manufacturing industry. Weak logistics. We are working on that, and today's rail inauguration, rail project inauguration will play a significant role, and Ethiopian Airlines is already playing. By the way, there are companies who export shoes to other countries, to Japan, because there is a direct flight from Addis to Japan, Addis to US, because those who are manufacturing high-end shoes, they can afford transport by Ethiopian Airlines. That's another logistics. Companies who are manufacturing lightweight products, be it pharmaceuticals, or we call them light items, like accessories in the case of textile. They can transport it with such kind of transport. So, but we believe we need to work more on logistics to make it a competitive advantage. Foreign currency challenges due to, again, low export. So the solution, we believe, is to excel export to resolve this foreign currency. So just to sum up, main reasons for investing in Ethiopia: remarkable economic growth, someone who is not going to be bored in a fast-running bus or whatever, will be, fooling himself. So it's better to catch while before it's too late. Huge infrastructure and skill development. We are not talking, we are just showing it how we are committed as government. And the third one is state-of-art industrial parks. And that's another concrete commitment. We believe that we cannot be making a showcase. We are inviting others that is doable. And those who want to do it by themselves will get better support than other investment, because they are sharing the burden of the government, and we encourage that. Stable economic and political environment, access to international market, availability of abundant and wage competitive labor force, availability of natural resources for productions, transparent investment policies, attractive investment incentives. Thank you very much.
Audience to join me in congratulating Atofism as well. Ethiopia has come a long way from having all recipients of foreign investment in Africa. So I'd like to say congratulations. So on the backs of that, we've heard what the incentives are, why invest in Ethiopia from a government perspective. I would now like to move to the private sector. We have on our panel Ato Zemedine, who I think most of you will recognize as managing partner of
who has done quite a bit of work in Ethiopia, including with Ethiopian Airlines, become the Africa. You've worked across Africa, you've worked across Latin America and across the continent. My question to you is, why are we getting this investment into Ethiopia? What is the comparative and competitive advantages? And to make it in plain language, why does it make sense for business people, such as the ones we have here in the audience, to invest in Ethiopia? What is the key features that make it, profitable? So that's my question to you. If you could divide it up even, addressing foreign investors and local investors, since we have a mix, that would be wonderful. Sure.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm going to try this again. Good afternoon. It's more like this in here. It's always great to be out, particularly. I just came from an amazing event this morning. I was in Henok. I think Mr. Fitzgerald also mentioned it, but I think I'm the only one who has the bragging right, because I think I'm going to have this evening. I came from the inauguration, so we need to give a round of applause. So I'm going to sort of use that as my entry to the question that Henok asked me. Why would you want to invest in Ethiopia, right? I mean, it's a good question. We're all business people. Consulting opportunities, and I put what little money I have in the industry, right? So that means I have to believe in what is going on here. So there are a number of things. My good investment has covered all. So I'm dead, but I want to build up on the next couple of minutes. When you look at a country, any country done business in the world, some basic characteristics that you look for before you put money, right? What are we talking about here? So in the case of Ethiopia, I mean, the macro view will be, it's an economy driven by fundamentals. What does that mean? I'm sure there are some people here from very rich oil-producing countries in Africa, natural resource-driven countries in Africa. Unfortunately, for the last couple of years, and with some forecasts showing for the next 2-3 years, they'll be struggling because commodity prices have collapsed. Now, we've been first the collapse of commodity prices in India, but downside oil at $45 a barrel. We're our good friends, the Kenyans, of the larger economies in Africa. So, driven by fundamentals, it means that the underbelly, infrastructure, all the other elements that have to be there for economic transformation are either there or it's a work in progress. So the railway I started out with, because not only is coincidental that I was there a couple hours ago, but it's also a very illustration of what it means to have an economy driven by fundamentals. So if I'm a manufacturer, and I think this topic of what we're talking about here today is really, if I were to summarize Ethiopia's economic future over the next 10 years, it's what I call export or die, manufacture or die. I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but the fact of the matter is Ethiopia is trying to become South Korea. Ethiopia is trying to become China. And what drove those countries to prosperity is manufacturing. I think the presentation that you saw from Mr. Fitzgerald demonstrates that. The big investments in the industrial parks. I was at the opening of the Awasa Industrial Park a couple months ago. Very impressive. The largest in Africa for that particular sector, 1.3 million square meters. As he's indicated, that place is already completely full. That's what I call growth driven by fundamentals. For us as Africans, for us as Ethiopians to be transformed, it has to be in the back of value-added manufacturing, which includes the sector we're gathered here for, which is agriculture. Garments, textiles, leather, whatever. I mean, those are the types of things that is going to transform this country, and that is what is attracting investors. So Henok asked me, what are some of the competitive and comparative advantages that Ethiopia has that will attract, by the way, including the Ethiopian domestic private sector, which quite a lot of you are here in this room. So last week, just as I like examples, I like illustrations of substance to talk about stories of successes. So last week, we had the quality leather shoe industry gathering organized by the Americans. And the people in that room represented 80% of the American leather shoe market, 80%. Last week, right here in this room, in this conference center. And one of the arguments that they were making was, today 70% of the leather shoes in the United States, where I live part of the time, is sent. And they're saying that by 2020, it'll be down to 55%. When we're talking about billions of dollars worth of shoes, that 15% reduction has to go somewhere. And that's the reason that we're here. Why? Again, I go back to my main theme of argument, which is fundamentals. So if you are the largest owner of hides and skins in Africa, is Ethiopia, it did not make sense to produce that product right here. Why export to the United States? That's the kind of fundamentals we're talking about. So that's the comparative and competitive advantage that Ethiopia has. The same thing in leather, the same thing in textiles and garments and things like that. I always use the example of a country that I used to work in, I used to live in, which is Saudi Arabia. Many years ago, the Saudis decided that they want to be the leaders in the petrochemical industry because the raw material for petrochemical is what? The stuff that comes in abundance from the ground in Saudi Arabia. The same logic applies to Ethiopia. Skin we have in abundance. As Mr. Fisum said, we haven't really done a whole lot of it with it yet, but if you're an investor, that's the kind of opportunity competitive that we're seeing. So specifically for this industry, that's the kind of example. But at the macro, again, to where that was addressed, before key points in the infrastructure, as was stated earlier, the enormous amount of power that is needed to run industries in Africa. I mean, the Achilles heel for Africa for industrialization is the lack of power. I mean, go to any city in Africa, any country in Africa, with a few exceptions, power goes out every 5 minutes. You can't run fast like that. What is not available, or if it's available, is damn expensive. So when we talk about Ethiopia, again, from a competitive advantage, whether it's leather, garments, textiles, car manufacturing, I don't know how many of you have noticed that 4 of the largest Chinese car manufacturers build cars in Ethiopia. The French car manufacturer Peugeot just started manufacturing cars in Ethiopia. The German car maker Volkswagen, its truck division, already makes trucks in Ethiopia. Talk about actually the industrialization of this country, its competitive and comparative advantages. It's actually broader than the industry that we gather here to talk about. But it's important to put that in perspective. Again, going back to try to summarize what I said, if the infrastructure is there, especially power, if the transport and logistics is there, as was said earlier, with not only the railways, the air transport, and for those of you who are not aware of the fact that the largest merchant fleet in Africa, owned by an African, is right here in Ethiopia. Ethiopia owns the largest merchant fleet, despite the fact it's a landlocked country. So you got to look at it from an integrated perspective. And of course, my part of the competitive advantage, which is the labor force. As was said earlier, very young, very dynamic. There are very few people with great in this. All of them are very young. All of them are very young. Available workforce at affordable wages. As mentioned earlier, but it helps to repeat, it's anywhere between $50 to $600 on average in manufacturing in China. And wages today are a fraction. Yes, they will go up eventually, but they're still a fraction. On top of that, productivity. Productivity is key. I mean, if you look at the World Economic Forum's annual competitiveness index, most of African countries are at the bottom. They're starting to improve, but competitiveness. We've done a very study in our wrap this. We some of the factories that have transplanted from China, without mentioning some of the companies, because for confidential reasons, there's a case in Ethiopia. It's been producing in China for 30 years. In 4 years, productivity of their factories in Ethiopia are almost equal to the Chinese factories. It's a fact. We can show you offline who this company is. So when you summarize all this, Henok, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I think the competitive advantages are here. And I think ultimately many of the other elements that will make Ethiopia a competitor in the global scheme with 100 million people, added to the population every single year, that is a workforce that could transform Ethiopia into the manufacturing hub that China, which is countries like Ethiopia, and hopefully Ethiopia will be competitive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zamadin, for the excellent illustration. I think the essence of it is in the agro process set on Asia. In China, Vietnam is already starting to saturate. I think Medina's point is, where can it go? And Ethiopia simply stands as the few with the right tools which to take place. This is the same for local investors, for foreign investors. Is it macro for you? Much higher? Well, no problem. We have an excellent panel again, who was a senior person within corporations in the U.S., as vice president within the AT&T corporation in the U.S., who was crazy enough to move to Ethiopia when none of what we're talking about today was actually on the ground, and set up vegetable farms. And from practical ownership, of course, I'm about God, the right of myself. I would like to ask you, to Daniel, where do you see as the major opportunities? We've talked about why it makes sense in a global world. Where do you see major opportunities? Agro processing, hanging fruit, things we take advantage of almost immediately. And of course, the flip side, in emerging countries, there has to be a lot of challenges in processing and agriculture. Could you please also mention some of them and where the challenges are as well? So in short, what are the opportunities that you see? What are the main challenges?
Do I need to push a button? I wanted to stand up at them and respond to the challenge. Exciting times. In Africa, there are many opportunities for excitement. You can go on a safari. You can go on a vacation to like the beach or Cape Town. But what excites me is Ethiopia and agriculture. It's exciting in terms of opportunity in Ethiopia and agriculture. I'm going to mention opportunities on the question that what is the main opportunities in agriculture? And I think I've done maybe 10 years ago a TEDx talk which they have young men and women in agriculture. They do, and for because that has in place immediate for returns. Market talked about that is nearby, and market imports in Ethiopia grocery items is over $500 million worth of import substitution opportunity. If we look at the larger picture in Ethiopia, the category of oil is a $400 million substitution opportunity. We have oil crops that grow in Ethiopia, oilseed crops that. The answer is yes. We don't process it. Process edible oil crops that are grown here. Small farmers, and make excessive amounts of money in investments in oil, food processing. Can start today. Something we all to eat here is hot sauce.
Why are we importing it from Dubai? Do they grow any peppers or chilies in Dubai? The answer is no. But they know how to collect that, put it into a vat, make it into a sauce, and sell it to us as a sauce, a hot sauce. So here's the opportunity. If you grow chilies and you process them, I guarantee you 6 months business chili sauce under $1 investment. There are 3 million Ethiopian farmers growing chili in the world. We know it because we cook it every day. The chili sauce business is huge. Globally, it's over a $1.5 billion business. We consider that opportunity. Let me go through some other opportunities that are significant export opportunities that are high value. Horticulture is one. I have enjoyed that business. It's a tremendous opportunity for fresh produce on Ethiopian Airlines to deliver to markets. Secondly, tree crops. Tree crops, almonds, macadamia nuts, Jimma. Yes, they grow in Jimma. Studied. Yeah, go meet the people in the research institutes here in Ethiopia have done the work for many, many years. If you invest less than $1 million in macadamia trees, over 1,000 hectares, your return is over 65% return on investment. With all of the benefits that Ato Fitsum talked about, the tax-free holidays, the access to finance, the ability to bring foreign experts that can help you, expats who can come and work in your company, that's a tremendous opportunity. By the way, global consumption of nut crops is growing faster than supply. And Mars Corporation will tell you that every nut you can grow, they will buy. Opportunity, you don't have to market. You just need to go see how to fit them and find a place to grow it and get in business within 4 years. That's how long it takes. Now, some of the crops that we grow in the country, Ethiopia is in the top 10. And I'll mention some crops that I'm sure you never thought about other than coffee and sesame. We're in the top 10. Of course, we're number 1 in teff. Teff in Ethiopia alone is a $580 million piece of business. None of it is going through any industrial park or in a major industrial transformation process. It's very much a small-scale business. You make other products with teff, and it takes entrepreneurship, knowledge, and it's globally because it's gluten-free, high in proteins and iron. This is something in the nutrition world that is in high demand. Let me go down another crop that we have all ignored, and we even import it in cans. You go to your local supermarket locally, you'll find it as various names. It's chickpeas, shimbra. This is a product that has become a multi-billion-dollar transformed business globally, known as hummus. Hummus and tahini combined are right now in the United States alone a $4 billion business. Corporation, a very large beverage into this business, $60 million investment. Today, is over $480 million in just one product called hummus. It's sold in supermarkets. Why? Because it's healthy, and 80% of it is grown right here in Ethiopia. But it goes to Richmond, Virginia. It's processed in a manufacturing plant by an Israeli investor, and it's sold in combination with a branded product by an American company. We have no part in it. We have an opportunity to do it. Ethiopian Airlines has over 32 tons of cargo space every day flying into the United States. Take this opportunity. Now, what are the challenges? No investment community is without challenges. In Ethiopia, the reason why investment is not flowing in at the rate that we like things, we have huge amounts of crops that we produce, and at times crops as traders and businessmen and women who sell it to the international market and to consumers. The world is changing. Transformation is the more people you'll know. Any transaction you make, higher the margin, better. Few transform groups, low wage and labor costs, low land and rent costs, low tax and tax, an immediate from just these advantages of 30%. You eliminate the cost of transportation, and and return not achievable anywhere except in maybe investing in banks. Another conversation we can have with our colleagues who have invested in banks in Ethiopia. Anywhere have made this anywhere else in the world. But in the opportunity is there because the challenge is there. The challenge is that many investors are not seeing the opportunity because of lack of information. Lack of information. I see investors, colleagues here who are in a sesame-based made in China, sold in the United States, and I used to $6 for the supermarket. That is an amazing product where the sesame goes a long distance from Ethiopia, somewhere in China, to be processed into sesame oil. This is a high-value product from the majority of Ethiopia of sesame. Doesn't get that value. If you made it here, and the United States, you could the United States advantage editor in the world. You have to think about that. Chili oil, under you can get the challenges. Challenges to see is the issue we discussed about foreign currency. When we flour industry, and I was one of the first few, and there are some colleagues who were also part of that, started in the flour industry. When we literally was no foreign exchange available for us to buy rows and seeds and all of the stuff that we had to import. As part of the dialogue and the program, yes, we need a way to make this happen. And they said, what program? Farms said we want to produce. We need to buy wood. We can't get. We specific governmental authority through the access to finance that we have outside the country. We accessed foreign exchange outside the country. So if you're in an industry group and you can create the dialogue with the government, ask for permission to be able to import the inputs you need to run the factory from your access to foreign exchange outside the country. We went 2,000 employees in the flour industry. It's also a business investment in flour in Ethiopia valued in one investment. Figuring out, make the challenge important inertia and look if just F as a morning cereal, F probably your kids will take you there. And gluten.
Thank you, as I promised. Very exciting opportunities really on the ground. I found myself almost impatient, as if I haven't heard of all of these opportunities before. Of course, Ethiopian that are hard to find in other grains. It has very big and wonderful that we enjoy the opportunities on the ground. The Ethiopian private sector well had in a number of positions within different sectors. Now heading the parliament that is discussing with the government to help invest it easier for sectors like to invest in the benefits of that. I would like to ask him private business, where do you do your easy opportunity on in of agro in Ethiopia. Add on to Daniel's point of view, because I am impatient listening to all the opportunities Daniel is talking about. Where do you see the remaining challenges in your dialogues with the government and improving the business environment? Where do you see the challenges?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. It's very tough to cope with a podium after such inspiring and eloquent speeches. Anyway, I will try to cope up. And talking of a couple of questions forwarded to me, the first one is how the Ethiopian private sector, the broader business community, perceives the opportunity in the area, and what are the possible challenges as a continuation of my the previous speaker. Talking of harnessing Africa's investment potential, in fact, agriculture comes at the center, and therefore the motto which is described this event, that is unleashing Ethiopia. But when we see the of it has been in speech, the by putting realization, some social trading by depletion morning. That's I would Agro would like to the business as the socio-economic commerce and sectoral associations. So why Agro? And if we see the business aspect of this question, the first one that we get is big potential, as explained earlier by the presentation. Almost 60% of the world Arab is situated in African continent. This morning, we discussed intensifying even the 3% occupied land is a big potential that be perceived as a event opportunity for the future. One is 60% of Africa's is culture. If you take the Ethiopian case, it ranges from 80 to 85, and this labor force, which suits the activity of, is potential that attracts the attention of is immense. To here, almost 40 million hectares is suitable agriculture in 7%. And if we see Sub-Saharan Ethiopia, than 4% is used for seasonal agriculture of attraction for Ethiopian businesses, observing this agro-industry as a big. The global population is expected to be 9 billion in 2015. And the food and beverage sector, which already represents 50% of spending globally, is projected to increase in absolute terms more than other countries in the next decade. And to feed this big gap, agricultural production is expected to be increased. Identifying the existing occupied 40% of African arable land and following extensive approach to make use of the 60% potential can mention here. The other point is growing market. If we see Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa and Ethiopia, categorically, with the fastest growing deal for food, with the fastest middle income population. These are the major areas the private sector is agro-industry and attractive businesses in the future. There are aspects of the socio-economic issues the responsible private sector considers. The first one is the agro-industry investment creates many others as different study depicts. There are less social and environmental risks involved with agro-industries and other investment. Recently, FAO impact of federal investment in most the social and environmental risks reach the investments agro-industries have served benefits at local and national level. If we see the Ethiopian perspective, the conversely, agriculture is the future of our planet, both in terms of economy and food self-sufficiency of the planet. Assuming the African continent will find Ethiopia in the top of nations for the private sector perspective, Ethiopia has accumulated three conditions of an attractive agro-industry business-wise. As you know, Ethiopia was growing and the subsidies a decade. This growth has accumulated a lot of conditions attracting a high-level engagement in due to the country's investment-friendly environment and its attractive potential that explained earlier. The FDI has increased sleepy over the past decade. The reports from the government, the review finance confirmed that FDI stock in almost 5 times that of its level before a decade. During the last 10 years, FDI inflow has increased 5 times. It has come up with a comprehensive strategy necessary and to the ground action plan to agro-industrial that we are is of these strategies and engage with necessary as well as a detailed action plan. Investors can go step by step. That we can make regarding the readiness of Ethiopia. Is potential of the political will of the government. Growth plan, the gives of presentation in the. If we see the second GTP as of this economy, development strategy, and this plan is share of from the existing level to 2025 is taken as a growth as a or optional. So it is for breakers for this economy. It's the of political commitment and the future. Another put agro industry as a critical potential for the next decade. We have been attending one event in the US. We just came back yesterday from Miami Food and Agro Business Show. 400 500 the show. companies were is frontier realization, agricultural resources, development for these companies that readiness is needed. If you take readiness of government of the world, regarding challenge, following up with my previous speaker, the local, because local is success investment in terms of these investments that the issue based on that integration park, but this is a critical which attracts even businesses to engage with the local businesses. Businesses have the local knowledge and business joint venture. The other one is finance, access to finance, both finance, a critical in private sector for items. And a major problem that the private sector faces is infrastructure interventions. These integrated industrial parks is a effective, demand effective other investments and agro-industry sovereign hedge funds instrument high spec and available in broad needs to think of providing a very creative way of providing these finances for these engagements of the private sector. The other one is the technology competition. As you know, the smart manufacturing, following the fourth industrial revolution that is running the global manufacturing scene, is almost, its products are here at our doorstep. Most of the products, the agro-industrial products that we are purchasing from the supermarkets, are using a high-level technology which is, fueling up competitiveness through price. So the technology level is the other area that needs a serious attention for the success of this endeavor as we go along. The Ethiopian Chamber of Commerce and Sectoral Associations is a private sector organization with 18 members as an institution. This is an umbrella organization for the private sector nationwide. We provide different assistances. One of the things that we do is a public-private dialogue forum with the government. We provide different alternatives of policy-making areas by identifying problems of the private sector through a very thorough study. And this public-private dialogue forum tries to address key problems of the business community and conducting research on those issues and coming up with recommended solutions. We have been trying to address the challenges that I have already mentioned through this platform so that we can have a better engagement in the future. For any queries and assistance that you may need, you can check our website, ethiopianchamber.com. We are available at any time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anto for that further elaboration and also thank you for all the hard work in organizing and representing the private sector in partnership with the Ethiopian government. Having said that, we are going to come to you for some questions, so get your questions ready. But before that, as you all know, Ethiopia has a number of development partners who support it on its road to development, on its road to improving its business environment, and allowing it to tap into global supply chains, as we're talking today. So right here today, we have Ms. Cristina Gonzalez, who is an expert specialized in agricultural economy and social rural sociology, who are going to talk to us about how the donors are supporting and how they intend to support the Ethiopian government in improving the business for environment for investment.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank the government of Ethiopia for having invited me to this forum. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. And I believe this is an excellent opportunity to explain what are the European Union efforts to build up meaningful international cooperation on agricultural policy. And by doing so, I am replying to your question. So we believe that the development assistance we are providing to developing countries is not enough to make this a significant transformation of African agriculture. So we need to engage with the private sector. And to do so, we are very much aware of the importance to provide the right policies, the right business environment. The European Union has done so already in our continent. And we are trying to build up this dialogue also at the global level. So the G7 and the G20 fora are picking up, they are taking up this dialogue as well in their context, and we are very much keen to see that in the recent agricultural ministerials at the G7 and the G20, there have been significant commitments in their declarations that want to focus on more cooperation on agricultural policy, moving from development cooperation to policy dialogue with developing countries in order to create this business environment, the right business environment. So the G7, just to make reference to a very particular commitment, the G7 this year has committed to improve its efforts to promote, to engage the private sector and promote greater investments in the agricultural sector in Africa. And they have proposed to organize a forum next year, precisely more or less with the same title as the forum today. So this initiative is very, very much in advance, and I thank for UNIDO's support to organize this forum. I think that the format is very much what the G7 is planning to do as well next year. So I would like to make reference to how the European Union is in practice implementing this dialogue with Africa. First of all, we are implementing it at the national level with the implementation of our development assistance, the national indicative programs to implement our development assistance. And we are very much keen to see that in the current programming period, 2014-2020, most of the African countries have chosen agriculture as a focal sector to spend the money that the European Union is provided under our cooperation. So we are very much happy with to see that agriculture, after so many years of underinvestment, is now being prioritized. And at regional level as well, we have a dialogue with regions in Africa. Particularly, I would like to make reference to the potential that the economic partnership agreements, which are now being ratified, and for example, the SADC IPA that will come into force next 10th of October, provide a great framework for dialogue within the governments and administration, and also involving the private sector to unleash the potential of the development of the agricultural sector. The third level I would like to mention is the continental level. So the European Union is very much engaged with the African Union in bringing this cooperation and policy to the front of our agenda. We have recently organized the first African Union, European Union Agricultural Ministerial in July in Noordwijk in the Netherlands. And the main topic of discussion was to engage further with the private sector, and to do so, governments and public authorities recognize their role in providing the right policies to help the private sector invest further in agriculture. So I would like to give more details about the particular instrument my colleague Kundun has mentioned today, because I think it's going to be an instrument which very much will respond to the question you've made. He has told you that just 2 weeks ago, the European Commission has adopted a proposal for an external investment plan. This is a major initiative. We aim at mobilizing up to 44 billion euros, and it is particularly targeting Africa and our neighborhood countries. So there will be a specific instrument for Africa, and this plan has been designed with 3 pillars, which are very relevant to respond to the question. The first pillar is a financial instrument, providing blending capacity, but also a new instrument. It is a new guarantee that will be able to absorb direct losses, potential direct losses. This is a major change compared to the existing blending facilities that the European Union is already providing. The second pillar is the technical assistance, is to help the private sector to present a bankable project. This is very important. We see that there is a sometimes lack of capacity from the private sector to draft a project which is has the quality, which is well enough prepared in order to be eligible for the assistance. So we are going to provide help to do so. And this maybe is an opportunity to respond to what Semedene has said, that he wanted to involve more with the local businesses. So this second pillar of the external investment plan will tackle that problem. The third pillar is going to be precisely what this session is about. We want to help improve the business environment. And when we implement these specific projects, when we provide this technical assistance, what we want to do is to engage with the countries in a dialogue in order to promote the reforms which are needed in order to improve the business environment. So this external investment plan is going to be critical to implement one commitment the European Union has recently, just 1 year ago, in the context of our migration agenda, which is one of our priorities, to tackle the roots of irregular migration. The European Union in Valletta, just in November last year, has committed to engage in mobilizing the private sector, more private sector investment in the African agribusiness and value chains. And we would like to see much European companies, agricultural and agri-food companies, coming to Africa to invest, and this instrument will facilitate our work. So with this, I think I have provided a large overview of what are our priorities. I think 2017 is going to be a very dynamic year because of the G7, G20 summits. And also, I would like to already advance that under the Italian presidency, the G7 summit will focus, among other themes, on Africa and migration. I think it is an excellent opportunity to bring forward these ideas that we are sharing today. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. I would also like, in this spirit of thanking, to thank the European Union for its continued support for a very long time. And as you heard, more specific and timely support in the area that we're speaking of. I think for further information, she will be available after the panel as well. But now let's move to questions. So you've heard quite a bit. You might have some questions running in your mind. Okay, next question, please. Back. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Adida Thomas. From the private sector. I'm from Nigeria. I only want to ask based on a particular challenge which was mentioned by one of the panels, and that's information. Vis-a-vis, I want to see this as a communication aspect as well. And probably the Chambers of Commerce, the panel from the Chambers of Commerce will be able to enlighten us more on what are the policy put in place in terms of addressing the challenges of communication and information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
The chairman for the first presenter, a wonderful on the 20 frustration. My question, under that clause, I has put is the issue of is for investors to take advantage. But one thing there, you allow for repatriation of profits. Not know the percentage of repatriation of profit that is allowed here as part of the incentives for investors to come in to do business here. That's one. You also mentioned the issue of the industrial park. That's quite interesting, and of course, it's one of the strategies a little bit lost. Is the putting in place in terms of administering the policies of industrial park? Is it different from the general policy that an investor comes into your state to do business? Is it going to be different from that of the industrial parks that you are establishing? I just want to know if the policies are different, or is going to be of the same policy that is going to be applicable at the industrial parks. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So two strong questions. Just from the agriculture-rich country in the nation. The questions from front and
hello. Yes. How does it work? This is Francesca Secondari. I am from Bonelli Rede, the law firm that drafted the legal framework guide to invest in the industrial parks. I have a question for the head of Frank, which is we saw that the incentive framework is sustainable for any investor. I also know that some Italy has very, very good bilateral treaties in terms of tax. Is it true for countries as well? And in thank you.
Ed, please.
German. I'm indeed in Latin America and to lead Daniel to develop the sector in Ethiopia. My question is, what are the obstacles? Saying one of the limiting
you. I will. Is there? I'm not seeing.
Was the think but always ask once of the policies major which attract many in the laser subsector, I think in the country is losing well-refined policy in the balance of the heights utilized. I think really considering this at national level. Thank you.
Okay, questions to our panel.
Very much. Staff to we are also goods in agro processing, chemicals and others. But when you see that exists and effort that we are making up, so incentives even try universities. We have to be frank. Incentive structure compared
there is no restriction on dividend repatriation. I think what's but lady there asked that is it advantageous mean double taxation treaties that countries. It's too trust in this very can have an option. In general, though, it depends which country they have now very attractive incentives. So depending on the country you're coming from, treaties. I'd rather have this very critical discussion line and more about this stuff, okay? Is that okay with you? All right, good.
From the madam, I'm sorry, but I'll respond to your question. To be careful, some of the response really requires someone who knows deeply well the National Bank strategy and policy on foreign loans to domestic investors. As far as foreign investors are concerned, foreign direct investors can take loans as needed from either development banks or whatever financial buyer, and they can repay their loans earnings, and they're allowed through the repatriation. There are plenty of loans for agriculture and development sector strategies and amounts up to 70% and wages paid to increment of the in both and then other says these development strategies, and there is money available. So if like other banks and it's payments to you, the other side, so to them.
Pacho, can you keep?
Thank you. The question
that we are into the private those we the distribute aware the stage of we had change finalized.
I just want to, it's not a reply to any question, mainly a call, you know, in Africa that would normally take place in February 2017 to
Don't go away, Imamo is talking about of
Please, before we proceed to coffee tea break, may I just feel returning to the government if you
I can read here.
You can handle this. Whatever you want to see. No, they don't have one. Here, try it.
Hello. Hello.
It's working. Can you?
Susan. To me?
You can make your own slide. My friend.
Can you take it? Maybe.
Let's try. Where is this child? Guess this one.
It's okay.
We still have. Yeah, we still have this.
Hey, brother. You guys are.
样头。
哦。
This is Ethiopia, the African type. The oldest engaged in this sector of the economy. The country has also huge agriculture due to its adequate rainfall.
Those huge lands because of the ecology and species of plants also breeds within
quality is coffee. The potential in livestock, potential leading, spice leading, fruit and
The untapped potential of the agricultural sector, the government is undertaking several actions. The learning put in place is a key. Today,
just 10 years ago, and the Ethiopian population, Ethiopia like, and I trust, I invest destination for investment, very attractive, very stable government, grows consistently. So
in Ethiopia, there are many several incentives to investors who aspire to manufacture.
10 years ago, Ethiopian support to us. They give this land to us after we start construction, and we start bringing so many high quality machines from Europe.
New is incentive as access to finance, turnkey solutions, access to regulations that allow you to do things.
Government.
The others are.